The Toronto Maple Leafs last year finishing in first place, 52-26-4 for 108 points. They defeated Ottawa in the opening round before falling to the Panthers in 7 games and really came up with a couple of lemons in games 5 and 7. It was their 9th consecutive playoff appearance, but they've only won 2 series since 2004. And the biggest news coming out of Toronto during the offseason is trading 9-year veteran Mitch Marner to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for center Nick Roy. Marner went on and signed for 8 years, $12 million a year, full no movement clause in that deal. And here's a guy that reached 100 points for the first time in the 2024-25 season, has averaged 82.3 points per season in his 9 years in Toronto. And of course, the big question here is, where is that going to be made up?
I don't think it is going to get made up. I think they're going to have to do it by committee. They're going to all have to chip in a little bit more. But I do think, and I've said this before, that he's a franchise player. He wasn't coming back to Toronto. That was established early in the season. He had all the control over the situation. And I think that Brad Treliving, the general manager of the Leafs, did the best he could. I think that there was when they changed GMs from Dubas to Treliving, there was a little bit of a gap there, and that's where Marner's contract didn't get addressed, and Marner had total control after that. And so he didn't want to go back to Toronto. He didn't want to stay in his hometown for whatever his own personal reasons are, that he didn't feel good about playing with the Maple Leafs, and he was going to leave. So obviously they were able to get a deal put together between the Knights and the Leafs, but Mitch Marner wasn't coming back to Toronto.
In addition to acquiring Watt in this deal, they get several bottom 6 forwards to insert into the lineup. Matias Maccelli in a trade with Utah. Michael Pezzetta signs as a UFA from Montreal. Travis Boyd coming in as a UFA from Minnesota. Vinny Lettieri as a UFA from Boston. And one move that I really did was acquiring Dakota Joshua in a trade with the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for a 2028 4th-round pick. Joshua came back last year, had a battle with testicular cancer, and I think this is maybe a little bit of a hidden gem that Treliving has acquired.
Yeah, I don't understand this. And there's a lot of things, we'll get to Vancouver when we do the Pacific Division, but there's a lot of things I don't understand about Vancouver Canucks and what they're doing. And this is one of them. I think that was a good move by Treliving. From what I've seen of Joshua, he's a good, huge guy, Dakota Joshua, and can add and probably play the style of game that Berube wants his teams to play. So I think it's a good pickup by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and wait to see when we do Vancouver's show how they're going to fill in for all these missing pieces.
The re-signs on the Maple Leafs. John Tavares, who was making $11 million before, takes a real hometown discount this time, re-signing as a UFA, 4 years, 4.389 V. Had 38 goals last season as a 34-year-old, to be 35 before the start of the 25-26 season. Steven Lorentz re-signs as a UFA. Nick Robertson manages to avoid arbitration 1 year, 1.825. But the big one here, Matthew Knies, 6 years, 7.75 AAV. And if you're replacing a member of the Beatles, then Knies is now the new member of the core 4, joining Tavares, Austin Matthews, and William Nylander.
Yeah, and who doesn't like Knies? He's a power forward in today's game. He's this big guy, strong guy, good skill level, great signing by the Leafs to tie him up. I'm not sure that the numbers I don't know what numbers make sense anymore, but they certainly got him tied up. And you never know, maybe Knies, with his improvement this coming season, because he's in an improvement cycle in his career right now. Maybe with his improvement, he can slip in and make up for Marner. He's not going to make 100 points, but he can make up for that, as you said, and become one of the core 4 on the Leafs. While we're at it, I just want to mention that John Tavares, I'm so impressed with the way he played this season and the way he played in the playoffs. For a guy who had his C taken off of his jersey and given over to Austin Matthews, he was such a team guy in the way that he handled that and that the way he played all season long and then into the playoffs. I can't say enough about him from my standpoint. I don't know him, but I sure respect the way he handled the whole situation this year in Toronto.
And he will now have that opportunity to have Knies alongside with him in a more prominent role. Knies, as we mentioned, 29 goals last year, 29 assists for 58 points. In addition to Marner, a couple of notable drops. Ryan Reaves goes to San Jose in a trade in exchange for defenseman Thrun. And Pontus Holmberg, who I thought was a rather serviceable forward as a right wing on a bottom six role, signed as a UFA in Tampa after not receiving a qualifying offer. So that brings us to the budding question about the Maple Leafs. Creative director Neil Smith came up with all of these little quirky things. As the Maple Leafs are known as the Buds. And the question here, Neil, the Toronto Maple Leafs have gone through 58 years and 57 seasons since their last Stanley Cup or even their last Stanley Cup final appearance. My opinion is unless two of the core four players that we've just mentioned have sustainable runs deep into the playoffs, you and I are going to be having this exact same discussion a year from now.
I agree. And I think we're going to have the same discussion a year from now because I just don't see them as a hard team to play in the playoffs. Now, maybe I'll be wrong, and maybe Craig Berube will get them to tweak them enough to get them to change to be able to play that Florida Panthers style game, which, by the way, is the same game that every Stanley Cup team ends up playing in the playoffs. They grind it out and they get gritty and dirty and nasty and end up with the cup. And Toronto's going to have to do the same thing. So I do think we'll have the same discussion next summer or next August when we do this all over again. But we'll see where Toronto can get to. There's certainly an enigma. This team is, as you once said, they suck more oxygen out of a room than any team in the league.
And even the comments that Austin Matthews made about needing more guys to step up. If anybody needs to step up, all he has to do is take a look in the mirror.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then Toronto as a city is going to start to get on Austin Matthews pretty good if he doesn't start to step up. It's one thing. We all know he's a tremendous regular season player. He's already a Hall of Famer. Let's not kid ourselves. But in order for him to really be recognized as a true superstar in every way of saying it, he's going to have to produce in the playoffs. That's what the big boys do.